Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to Now Interviews. I don't do many interviews, as I say, but I'm going to start doing more because the shameful portrayal of what's going on in West Asia generally, but particularly in Iran and Lebanon in our mainstream media here in the West, it's becoming of a bloody comedian to come in and start doing some kind of journalism. I think that's the state that we're in. This is not my area at all, but and it's not even journalism. I just want to talk to people who are on the ground in the countries most directly affected so that they can use their voice, seeing that they're going through this hell, to actually tell us in the West what's actually going on, as opposed to what BBC and CNN have to say. So today I'm so grateful to be joined by somebody, full disclosure, who's a friend of mine, I would say, at this point. In fact, I'm wearing her cardigan. Her name is Nour Yaakoub. Is that pronunciation okay,
Yeah,
Nour? Please,
yeah, good.
please,
It is good.
please
Yeah,
correct me.
yeah,
Okay.
it is. It's
So when I was in Beirut and other places in Lebanon last year on the occasion of the funeral of Hassan Nasrallah, Noor was one of the many people that I met whose kindness shone through. She was translating for us, just base minimum, that's what she was doing, but also she was just offering the classic Lebanese Shia friendship, humanity, and just everything that's good about being a human being. And I had, obviously, as well documented, a terrific time that cost me an awful lot of hassle when I came home, but it was well worth it. So, Noor, first of all, how are you? The last time I spoke to you, you were recovering from the last Israeli onslaught in which members of your family
yeah,
were actually murdered, and you were just getting your head round all that. And now here we are, about a year onwards, and you're in the same situation right now.
yeah.
How do you feel, if that doesn't sound like a stupid question?
Um, I think at this point, first of all, we are fine, like physically for now. You can never recover emotionally from what happened last year, so it is not really a question of like emotions or mental health. And I think it's a luxury to think about these at the time being, like what we are going through right now. Um, but I think at this point we have gotten used to the fact that our stance as a people, our stance as a community, have made us subject to all kind of oppression and targeting and constant dehumanization and alienation, ways of even like at this point we were dealing with segregation and racism inside our country from people who do not know or who do not want to understand what kind of plight we are going through.
Yes.
So at, to a certain level, what we're going through is very expected, and it's always kind of we're always mentally prepared for it, because once you're in this field, once you're in this kind of ideological line of belief, you kind of understand that this is what you're signing up for, and your future is not going to look very bright in the presence of imperial powers and the empire. So in a way we're prepared for it because we're constantly preparing for such things to happen, but at the same time, it is very hard, and it is very it takes a very big toll on our mental health and our nervous system and all that. Yeah.
Yes. Just a quick one on that, because a good Palestinian friend of mine here in Ireland has said that he personally is sick of being described as resilient.
Yeah.
Do you get that as well? That it's
Yeah.
even allies, I think, like maybe me, would think, oh my God, the Lebanese people, the Palestinian people, they're so resilient. But there's something about that framing that in many ways gets the imperialist powers off the hook a little bit, that that's just your destiny, that you have to be resilient and we have to live in comfort over here, and our governments have to play a role, a huge role in destroying your lives, but you have to put up with it. Does that annoy
Yeah.
you?
I think to a certain level it does. It is a shared experience of like at this point I'm so tired of being called resilient, and the person who's like, well, the community who's resisting oppression and standing against oppression. We understand that we have shown a lot of resilience in face of occupation and the expansionist state and all that, but um, sometimes it is really sad to only be defined by that. You know, this person is resilient or this community is resilient, because at the end of the day, we are still human beings. We are not shying away from this, the thing that we're going through, but yeah, sometimes it does get annoying being repeated from some people. We do see that there's a growing number of people who support the struggle and the cause and all that all around the world, and we'll
Yeah.
definitely not blaming them for living comfortably if they're like raising their voices in the right place. But I think I do agree with that Palestinian friend of yours. We have been defined as resilient for a very long time, that a lot of people
Yeah.
forgot that we're actually human beings as well. Yeah.
Yes, yes, exactly. And that's the dehumanization that kind of underpins everything that's going on in the region for
Yes.
me, that it's okay. And so to get to that straight away, before we talk about what's happening right now, I was there in February, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, there was a so-called ceasefire was called the previous November. So give us a sense of, from November 2024, is it
2024,
2024?
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to now, there's been a ceasefire, and Lebanon has gone out of the news. I'll tell you that. I know you probably know that yourself anyway. But in the West, I think even in Al Jazeera, even in some of the so-called kind of good guys here in this part of the world, we just haven't heard anything about Lebanon. But like, has there been
Yeah.
anything going on in Lebanon over that period that you might like to let people know in the West?
I think maybe to understand what's happening right now, we definitely should go over what has been going in Lebanon for the past 16 months of supposed ceasefire, quote
Yeah,
unquote ceasefire, because it was not a real ceasefire. So after 66 days of war in 2024, between early October and late November, a ceasefire was finally announced. And from that point onward, we have witnessed a lot of Israeli aggressions and a lot of Israeli violations of the ceasefire. First of all, the Israelis did not get out of the bordering villages until like maybe late February, and still they maintained 5 points, like 5 outposts on these villages.
yes,
So there was still occupation up until now. Since the ceasefire, there has been 1,645 airstrikes on Beirut, on southern Lebanon, and on Bekaa. There has been martyrs from like kids, children, women, and elderly. Almost 360, 353. That's the number out there between the ceasefire and early March, when this new war started. Um, the country has not been doing, like the government has not been doing much in that regard, because what basically was the deal is that there will be disarmament under the Litani River. So in that place under the Litani River, there will be disarmament of Hezbollah's weapon by the government, and then the Israeli army should withdraw from the bordering villages, and the violations should stop, the aggression should stop. Even when the government was going through, like the state was actively going through disarmament measures, the Israeli aggressions continued, the airstrikes continued. There are several airstrikes that have been issued with previous warnings in the southern suburb of Beirut and Bekaa, but most of the airstrikes were not issued with previous warnings. And I'm not making a differentiation between these airstrikes. Both
yeah,
of them are violations of the ceasefire, violations of human rights laws, and all that. But I'm saying that not even like most of the attacks were not even prefaced by evacuation orders or anything like that. So
gotcha.
people were left to be injured, killed, etc. So the state has not been doing much. The state has been less than cooperative with the citizens of the South. There has not been any real effort toward real kind of rebuilding and of what has been ruined by the previous Israeli aggression. So up until
Yeah,
this moment, we're having new buildings being bombed and evacuated, and new people being displaced again. But still, the older ones are still on the ground, and no real effort has been done to rebuild them in any way, shape, or form. The reconstruction efforts have always been just in statements from the prime minister, the president. They would say like, we've taken funds from the World Bank. We have been doing some sort of negotiation to take funds for reconstruction efforts, and then nothing would happen. So that is what's happening on the ground. The Israeli army has violated the ceasefire for over, like, there are like tens of thousands of violations at this point. You cannot keep track of them since the first announcement of the ceasefire, as well
Yeah.
as the fact that the state has not been cooperative with the people. The state has not been helpful to the people. People of the south have been displaced for through all this year, but the state did not help them in any way, shape, or form. There was not any kind of like financial, um, like, for example,
Compensation.
bundles. Like, you can give them bundles of
Yeah.
food, you can give them financial relief, you can give them any kind of relief. There wasn't any kind of relief from the state. And right now we're going through the month of Ramadan, and these people, even before this aggression started, these people who have been displaced, they also were struggling to, I mean, they kind of managed to find places to stay in, even though a lot of people are still displaced. But it's Ramadan, the prices are skyrocketing, people are out of their houses, some people have lost their houses. So even before what happened, like this new aggression started, people were not being helped in any way, shape, or form by the state, and Israel has been continuously violating the ceasefire. Yeah.
And like what I mean, again, probably stupid question, but what does it feel like to be in a country where, you're supposedly enjoying a ceasefire and that's the final word of it in terms of the media we get here, and then it slips out of the news cycle. And so during that ceasefire, people are you're being attacked, you're being bombed every single day.
Yeah.
Like there's people being killed most days in Lebanon during that ceasefire. Is that fair to say that there's
Yeah.
people being killed
Yeah.
every day? And
Almost
so the
every
official
day.
line is that it's that you're in a ceasefire and the world is looking the other way. How does
Yeah.
it feel to be so abandoned?
Well, it is very like angering in the first place. It's provocative and irritating and angering, and it makes you think about this whole entire system of privilege that we live in the world.
Yeah,
But I want to also give a little, like, maybe highlight in this particular
yeah,
issue, and that is, we in Lebanon, um, as you said, we've been going through a fragile ceasefire, and people have been thinking all around the world that nothing's been happening, like the attacks stopped and everything. People inside Lebanon who have the privilege to live in areas that are not attacked, that has never been attacked by Israeli airstrikes, never ever, like in any aggression.
yeah,
They are living in a very like detached lifestyle. They, through this year, they have been like going on about their lives in the most detached manner. I get that a lot of people have neutralized themselves, especially those who have social media and who create constant entertaining content and all that. But also another piece of information, in our community there are a lot of content creators and a lot of people who um, do very entertaining and very creative things, and still they have not been detached. Some of them have the privilege to live far away from the consistent aggressions and violations. Some of them live in places that are not relatively safe at all, and still they have tried in the past year to maintain some sort of normal life, and
yeah,
as normal as possible, if I can say that.
yeah,
So the detachment and the this excessive, is the word neutralization or neutrality? I don't know, but the
yeah,
the way that people do not react at all to what's happening in Lebanon and have not reacted during the past year is not something that is worldwide, but it's also something national and local. We have communities
yes,
in Lebanon who live in complete privilege and who are completely detached. They live in their own kind of utopia, um, and they really do not give any kind of awareness about what's happening in the south and what's happening in sometimes Bekaa and sometimes the southern suburbs of Beirut. And I think that these people, should take accountability and responsibility for the world not knowing about what's going on, because these people have hundreds of thousands and sometimes millions of people on their accounts following them and watching their
Yes.
content, and these people are from around the world. And if these people who live in Lebanon or who are Lebanese and know what's going on daily went a little bit out of the way and maybe shared a post on their stories, shared a number on their stories, more people would have known. And I do know that mainstream media does a lot of work in not conveying the truth and hiding what's going on. But still, if we have learned anything from the war in Gaza and like October 2023 up until now, is that we are always capable of getting into alternative means of knowledge and alternative means of getting the truth. So if these people who are supposedly Lebanese have gone out of their way and talked about what's happening to the world, perhaps more people would have been aware of what's happening in Lebanon the past year of supposed ceasefire, and more people would not have been surprised at what happened in the past 24 hours of like escalated aggression, because they would have seen it coming at some point. Yeah.
It's so heartbreaking because, I mean, what you're describing is the old divide and conquer kind of policy of imperial powers, that they are quite happy if there's kind of factionalization within the country. If some groups are looking the other way while one particular group is being hammered, then that's exactly what the Israelis and the Americans want. So, I mean, I knew something of that, but I didn't know it in that detail, and that's heartbreaking. I mean, what you're basically saying is, not only is the world looking the other way, not only is the world showing indifference and a kind of a numbness to what's going on, but you're finding that from within your own country, and your own countrymen and women are doing that to you.
Yeah. A lot of them are,
And
unfortunately.
is the reasoning for that, again, I'm just trying to, gather some of the pieces from the online discourse, and I see some people saying, Hezbollah have brought this on themselves, and then do they put all the people in the south, particularly in this kind of category of Hezbollah has brought this kind of, war, even though there's been, like, as you say, violations every single day, people being killed. I think I read that there's been 15,000 Israeli violations of the ceasefire. And then the
Mhm.
first moment that Hezbollah does something to defend the territory because the Lebanese government has proved that it's either incapable or unwilling to do so, then it's Hezbollah's fault for anything that happens thereafter. Is that the kind of mentality within the country?
Yeah, so basically, it definitely is part of what's going on. Because when Hezbollah retaliated with the salvo of missiles, like the 6 missiles that happened
Yeah.
the day before yesterday, like, sorry, during the night, basically, um, people were like, Hezbollah has just retaliated to Israel because they want to take revenge for the blood of Ali Khamenei, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei.
Yes.
Um, People have since then marketed this story, even alienizing and dehumanizing Hezbollah more than they already have, like in the past years, saying that Hezbollah has dragged Lebanon to yet another war for foreign powers and for foreign people and Iranians, basically. And that is
Yeah.
a narrative that has been going on, a discourse of very long, like a long discourse that has been going on for years in Lebanon. But what people have not kind of like are willingly not trying to overlook is that for the past 16 months, Hezbollah has repeatedly said, we are trying to keep our calm and not retaliating to Israeli aggressions because we
Yes.
are willing to see what the state is going to do. And if diplomacy is going to do anything for the people in the south who are displaced still, yet displaced daily, people in the south who are being killed, people in the south who have to see their loved ones being killed in front of their eyes every day by Israeli drone strikes. So, what Hezbollah has been doing for the past 16 months is wait for the state to see what the state is willing to do. And as you said, the state is not willing to do anything. It's not
Yeah.
about capability, it's about willingness. Our prime minister and our president are completely unwilling to go against imperial powers at this point. And I will get to this point in a bit and talk
Yeah.
about what they said in the light of the latest aggression. So a lot of people in Lebanon are saying that what Hezbollah did is a suicidal retaliation for the killing of Sayyid Ali Khamenei, and it has nothing to do with the Lebanese people, their plight, or their suffering. And that once again, Hezbollah has made hundreds of thousands of southern people flee their homes for its own ideological beliefs.
Yes, yes.
But yet again, it's not about that. It is majorly about being silent for 16 months in the face of southern Lebanese people being killed every day, and left alone by the state and by the international community, and sometimes even by the people of their own country. And back to the state's response and what the state is willing and not willing to do.
Yes.
After Hezbollah retaliated with the missiles, or like did its targeted Haifa with the six missiles, the next day there was an emergency meeting for the Lebanese government. And in his statement, the PM said that we now strip every kind of legal cover off of Hezbollah's military actions, and like Hezbollah is a completely unauthorized organization,
Yes.
and we will strip it out of his arms. Like every time we see arms around, we're gonna like take them and confiscate them directly. So that is the Prime Minister's response, and that's what the Prime Minister is willing to do, instead of standing with the people who are trying to protect the people of the South after 16 months of continuous airstrikes and continuous aggressions. He has decided to alienize the only organization that's trying to protect the people. There are a lot of leaks from the government meeting, like a lot of leaks from what has been said during that meeting, and it is completely, it's shameful, to be honest. It's shameful because the Lebanese army commander said that I have a lot of scenarios in the case of Israel trying to get, doing a land incursion in Lebanon, which is happening right now. Israel is
Yes.
advancing in the land. And the commander of the army, the commander-chief of the army said, and that's not related to Hezbollah at all. He said, I have 5 scenarios, and the first scenario would be that if the Israeli army did a land incursion, I will basically stop them. I will take troops to the borders and try to stop them, so fight them, and engage with them in battle. However, he was dismissed by both the president and the prime minister by saying that this would be suicidal for the Lebanese army. So not only is our state not allowing Hezbollah to protect its people, protect the southern Lebanese people, and protect Lebanon, it is also not allowing the army to do its job by protecting the lands, and instead is allowing the Israeli army to enter further into the border villages. And now the Israeli army has entered Farkila. The latest reports are saying that they have entered Khiam, but it's not confirmed yet. So a lot of the border villages are basically now being occupied again by the Israeli army.
My God, I can't even get my head around how shameful that is. So there's
Yeah.
no even policy of protecting your own borders. Like
Yeah.
there's an open invitation for the country most obviously in ambition to take more land, and there's
Yes.
just an open door policy for them
Yeah,
to come in
I
and do
think we
that.
can safely say at this point that our government is conspiring against its own people. Our government is willingly participating in the annihilation and the killing and the displacement of its own people. Just over an hour ago, the Israeli army, a spokesperson in Arabic, issued an evacuation order to all the people and all the Lebanese people living in southern villages under the Litani River to evacuate. So that's like 8% of the entirety of the Lebanese territory. And for the past year and a half, people have been wondering, what does it mean? Like, what does sovereignty mean to those in power right now? Like to those who are members of the state right now. Like, what does sovereignty mean to you? Because this is part of the Lebanese land that is being constantly occupied and constantly violated and constantly burned to the ground by the Israeli army. And now you are not even willing to protect it and not even willing to give orders to protect it, and you are not even willing to let those who have sacrificed themselves to protect it to actually do what they have to do.
Yeah.
So it is very easy to say it's that the government has conspired against its people. I say it without any like bit of guilt. Our government is totally has totally bowed to the powers of the imperial agenda and the powers of the U.S. and Israel.
What's their plan? Like, what's in it for them? I mean, I just don't understand. If you give away the sovereignty of your own country, do they not feel that Israel's ambition is ultimately to take more and more land? And are they going to be just want to be a vassal state and enrich themselves, or what's their motivations?
It is more about what they want to believe than what is actually the situation.
Right.
These people do know that Israel is an expansionist state. They know that Israel does not only want to make a buffer zone in the south. They know that Israel wants to expand as much as possible. They know all this. It is established fact by now. But they are not willing to face the truth, and they are not willing to stand against oppression. The prime minister is going about like using diplomatic ways to stop the aggression and talking to those who have brokered the ceasefire, like the countries and the parties that have brokered the ceasefire in the first place to help stop the aggression. And he's still insistent on like talking about diplomatic ties and diplomatic ways to stop the aggression. But I think at this point it has been established that not one diplomatic effort has actually led to
Yeah.
reliable, tangible good effects, or good consequences for the southern Lebanese people. So I don't really understand what is there, like, what do they get out of it? But what I do understand is that these people are not willing to protect their own country. These people definitely are benefiting, like, financially from all the vessels of like corruption going around, the money. But mostly it's just about the lack of basic dignity
Yeah.
in face of imperialist expansion.
Yeah. I mean, as an outsider, it almost seems to me that they're threatened by the authenticity of Hezbollah in a way, because they know really that they're doing the job that the government should be doing, and they just don't have the guts to do it, or they don't have the
Mm,
balls, for want of for
yeah,
want of a better word. I won't keep you much longer, Nor, but I just want to ask you, and you've already given us a sense of it, because I mean, people would be interested in what's going on right now. There's
yeah,
evacuation orders for people in the south. I've just seen on the news that Beirut is also being hit. I
yeah.
mean, what
It
what's
is.
and I don't know. Are you comfortable to say where you are right now? But are you in any danger? Can you hear
Um,
attacks or?
yeah. So essentially, what has happened and like what has unfolded in the past hours is that apart from issuing evacuation order to the south and to the southern suburbs of Beirut, which are normally the places where evacuation orders and airstrikes typically happen, the Israeli army has also struck two other places. First of all, a place called Aramoun, and it is not normally a place struck by airstrikes. A building has been struck, a building that has displaced people in it, and people died there. There was also another building struck in Shuf area. Same, people died there. These two places were struck without any previous warning, and these places are not typically struck by airstrikes. But in the past war, this also happened a lot. Places that have been said to be relatively safe or even safe places have been struck by the Israeli army, and people have died as a result of that. So this happened twice so far. And actually, no, three times. There was also a third place struck very much near the presidential palace in Babda. So you can say it's in a hotel. It's in a hotel, and it was struck by a drone, I think. And there was like one. I don't know if it was a drone, but there was um, like one apartment fully destroyed
Yes.
by the strike. And these three places are not typically targeted by the Israeli army. But as I said before, the Israeli army has made it a tradition of targeting places that are thought safe. So, circling back to your question, there is no really safe place in Lebanon right now because anywhere like you go, there is a possibility that the Israeli army would want to strike at some point with the let's say the reasoning that there might be Hezbollah leaders or Palestinian Islamic Jihad or Islamic group leaders hiding there. But that
Yeah.
is really not the reason. They are killing civilians and there are no one there. And what I've seen in their latest patterns, I think, is that they are not even explaining themselves. So they just do the strike. Their spokesperson does not say anything. They do not even explain themselves at this point because there is no response from the Lebanese state. So they're like very
Yes.
comfortable hitting whatever they like without giving any sort of explanation because the Lebanese state is not even asking for one. The Lebanese state is just begging them to like stop, begging them through diplomatic ties and diplomatic ways, but it's definitely not working. So in the past, in the past hours, all the strikes that they did not even explain themselves or say why they did them. They have issued a lot of warnings to the southern suburb of Beirut. Several places have been targeted already, and they are targeting even places without any warnings as well. During the night hours, there was a building full of displaced people in Biqa targeted, and so far, I think there is around I haven't checked the numbers fully yet, but there are like a little bit less than 10 martyrs so far and a lot of injured people in that place only.
Alone. Wow.
Yeah,
Okay, Nour, thank you so, so much. If you're up for it, we'll talk to you again if you're safe and if it's
yeah,
okay for you to do so. And I
definitely.
will
If I can,
link,
I will. Yeah.
yeah, of course. And I will link to your work in the show notes, as the cool kids say. Are you doing journalistic work at the
um,
moment?
yeah, for now, I'm not like covering on the ground, but mostly I'm doing reports. We're doing breaking news, obviously.
Yeah.
We might have to go back and cover a bit on the ground, depending on what happens and what unfolds in the next days, because it's still very unclear what's going on and how the Israelis will act this time round in terms of attacks and in terms of targeting. So yeah, we're waiting for like what's gonna unfold in in the
Yes.
coming days. Yeah.
As we all are. Okay, thank you so much,
Thank you.
Nor. It's an absolute pleasure to speak to you.
It
And
was a pleasure speaking to
back.
you.
Thank you, buddy. Okay, join us back for some more interviews, guys. And as I say, here you will hear from people on the ground who are going through the horrors that our governments fund, not from people, particularly or Iranians, who are weirdly dancing on the streets as their own country is being bombed and potentially balkanized. So thank you, guys. See you back here soon.